Everyone, in this session, I will cover the power of words in crafting your presentation. In the previous session, we have covered body language, which comprises of 55%, followed by voice, which is 38%, and last piece is the words, about 7%. And I want to share with you the words is really the one is really as important as the voice as well as the body language, because words itself, there is really an emphasis of what your audience plays on the words that you use. If you use the right choices of words, you can evoke their emotions. If you don't use the right choices of words, it won't be able to evoke their emotions. You won't be able to connect to them to the level that you want it to, by not using the right words in your presentation. So what is the objective of this particular session? Is to first gain understanding of the functions and the uses of spoken words. I repeat, the functions and the uses of spoken words. And to really select precisely the right words to communicate your idea with clarity, clearly, vividly, and appropriately. I will explain further in my next few slides. You will also use words that appeal to your audience emotion, not yours. Remember, use words that appeals to your audience emotion, not yours. Which means the choices of word that you use is not the words that you feel like is more appropriate, but the choices of words that you think or you feel that the audience is interested. And last but not least, avoid common mistake in word use. Quality that enhance your presentation. There are a few qualities that will enhance your presentation. Just simply changing the word you with the word I or me, which means in any of your presentation, if you look through, if you write your script out, we want to review it. Can you turn some of the word that you use, like I, me, try to think it in a you, which means you must instead of today I will show you, today I will show you, today you will learn. Just eliminate, if you can eliminate as much as the word I and me, it would be better, because you are thinking in the point of the audience. Use more of the words of you rather than I or me. I was once mentoring a friend, I call it a friend, who actually giving a presentation, and she is a person who is very I mean, it's nothing wrong with her. She's a well-mannered person, but whenever she do a presentation, she always use the word I. She always says me. The entire presentation is almost every time about herself. Have you met someone like that before? I'm sure you have, right? So I have a bit of challenge trying to change her script, but I'm very so-called blunt, or what I call direct to them, that you should change everything to you, which means the audience. Instead of I feel, you may feel. Instead of I think this is the best, you may think that it is the best. Change everything that I to you. It will totally enhance your audience response to your presentation. Secondly, it must be specific and concrete. Appropriateness, which we mean there's no excessive slang, jargon, any insensitive words, assumptive words. For example, you always, or you may, you don't be all. No, it's assumptive words. When I said use less of a jargons, which means if you use things like, or you use words like, let's say a capital reduction exercise. Being a finance guy, I know what the meaning of a capital reduction, but for someone who is not in the accounting or line, they might not know what does it mean by a capital reduction exercise. Or you might want to, if you use something like a misappropriation of assets, this is a very business-like words, misappropriation of assets. You have to explain it in the layman term, because in your audience there could be someone who are the engineers, someone who are a freelance writer, and they are not in the field of tune of understanding these kind of words. So you must make sure your words that you use must be appropriate to your audience. Of course, if your audience are a group of accountants, then there is no problem using these words. The other thing that I've really find out is really numbers. There are many people, many audience are not good in numbers, which means if I flash a slide with a lot of numberings, I can tell you most people get confused by the time I say 2 times 2 plus 2 plus 5 plus 6. By the time they will have confused. So there is a way to use words lesser numbering for if you want to explain something that's technical and to someone who is non-technical, and if you need to use numbers, just minimize the use of numbering. And one of the ways, there are many ways to use biology. This one is not part of this particular session. The other thing though, the other thing is your presentation must have picture words, action words, and feeling words. I'll go on deep into what I meant by all these words: picture, action, and feeling words. Okay, for example, if I said this on the 6th of April 1962, there's the bloodiest battle fought in Civil War. Shell burst in spots, sketch killed 6 horses and wounded troops. The Sergeant Torsey was torn to pieces, wrote Henry Lone. He called this scene the Unions of Desperate Retreat. Don't you think that the words that is being used is very powerful? First, they use the 6th April 1962. And I can tell you, most of the presenters that I've seen, they will say in 1962. But they wouldn't say 6th of April 1962 at 4:30 p.m., 4:31 p.m. on a Wednesday morning. You see, that's a specificity. I want you to learn this thing called specificity builds credibility. You want to be as specific as it is to a certain point in time, date, day, and location. The other thing, this thing called bloodiest battle. Bloodiest battle is bloodiest battle is a very vivid. It's very vivid. Killed 6 horses and wounded troops. Killed 6 horses, not 5, not 4, not 3, but 6 horses. Torn to pieces. My heart break into million pieces. Those kind of words are very vivid words that you can use in your presentation. This is just an example. Set the farm ablaze to keep it from Union hands. Set the farm ablaze. It's not. It is very vivid. Set the farm ablaze. By the time Alfred Won made this sketch using Chinese white pigment to depict flame, Chinese white pigment, Union troops were in control of the area. Somehow you can get the best choices of use of word if you read fiction books. If you read fiction books, you will know that there are many flowery language that is being used. Did I say it correctly? A lot more harmonized and flowery language that you can use. But you see how specific it is. It's Chinese white pigment and not English, and not any white pigment, but Chinese white pigment. Yeah. The Union troops were in control of the area. These are the words that is used. In control, set ablaze. If there's a war between anywhere, they will use the word in control the area. So the words must be suitable to that particular circumstances. We're using words in that particular circumstances. Okay, use concrete and specific. What does it mean? For example, if I say the shirt is cheap, do I mean the shirt is not expensive? Or do I mean exactly the shirt is actually affordable? Do I mean the shirt is poorly made? So which of the three did the speakers mean when the speaker say the shirt is cheap? So what I means is use the right word. If you are speaking in front of a group of people who wants to purchase sorry, a group of if you are speaking to the merchant who are selling shirt, and you want to tell this shirt is cheap. No, actually, what you are trying to convey is the shirt is poorly made. You tell it to the merchant so that the merchant can improve. No, you don't go to the shopping center, after you bought a shirt and say, hey, your shirt is very cheap. No, your shirt is poorly made. You see, so that they can improve if you're talking to a merchant. But if you are talking to I would say a richer audience, which means high middle income to high income, you say this shirt is not expensive. This shirt that I'm wearing right now is not expensive. And if you're talking to a group of people who wants to buy the same shirt that you're having, right, this shirt is affordable, we tell them. So different choices of words send a different meaning. You must be concrete, specifics to the audience language. The other thing, according to research studies, enthusiasm is the #1 criteria to pass any job interviews. So I will improve it like this. For example, according to a study performed by Heinrich and Smitten in 1962, over 62,000 respondents, enthusiasm is the #1 criteria to pass the job interview. This is not on a specific words, but the entire sentence actually said the same meaning. But which one sounds more believable? Definitely the second one. When a study performed by Heinrich and Smitten in 1962, over 62,000 respondents. Whatever I said later carry more weights. That enthusiasm is the #1 criteria to pass the job interviews. So you must be specific, because specificity builds your credibility. So if the more you stack before what you want to share, it actually plays more weight for the audience. Actually, I made this up, it's not true. By the way, I made this up. The Heinrich and Smitten in 1962, over 62 responded. I made this up. But I can tell you, if I were to say A and versus B, which means if I were to say this sentence versus this sentence, I can tell you most people will believe this more. Although I made it up. Okay, what you say must be immediately clear to the listener. For example, this budget will result in more money for our company. This budget will increase the profit of the company by 400,000, enough to pay for additional 3 headcounts that we wanted for in year 2020. Which one is more compelling? The first, this budget will result in more money. The word more money, to anyone that is hearing to the company, they might not understand, or they might not be able to translate what money is for them. But this budget will increase the profit of the company. Will the management of the company be interested to increase the profit versus you use the word money? Money could be relatable to an individual audience, but profit is for company. Okay, and by how much? 400,000 for what use? To hire additional 3 headcount for 2020. You see, I translate the use of money into something that is tangible. Okay, translate the money into what they can use. That's how you change and make it clear to the listener. As a speaker, what we say must be immediately clear to the listener. When we read a book, we can stop. We read a passage over and over again until the meaning is clear to us. As a listener, we often do not have the chance to ask the speaker to stop and repeat. So it is the speaker role to ensure that the listener get the message. The more thought process the speakers invest in their script writing, the easier for the listener to get the message. Some tip, what is not and what it is. Using bombastic words, no. It's simple and understandable words. Stringing long sentences, no. 10 to 15 words in a sentence. Distraction and pause filler. Use non-verbal to reinforce, which means instead of saying la, just reduce those and say your next word by a non-verbal usage to reinforce it. Gap filler and this one, use precision and accuracy. Words must be swimming in flow and harmony. Linking words in sentence which serve to harmonize, neutralize, build, instill, punctuate, create an effect, and provide insights. Words to build mental picture. What are the picture words? I say there are three kind of words: the picture words, the action words, and the feeling words. The first is the picture words. Picture words help build mental picture and evoke an emotion. For example, if I say crystal clear thoughts, is way better than clear thoughts. Enveloped in fear, feeling fear. It's different, huh? Arrest the attention. Arrest the attention. Choking back the words. Blanket of mist. Jumping jelly. Eye blazing with fire. As thin as a rod. Stay away with a 6-foot pole. You see, all these are very clear mental picture that when I said it, you can straight away get a picture. We'll go on later on this. Picture words that appear. For example, appeal to the senses. As we said, there are 5 senses. What you feel, see, hear, taste, and smell. You know, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, olfactory, and visual, auditory, kinesthetically, olfactory, and smell. So I want to share with you. Let's say the word you use, instead of you, I speak to her. No, I shouted at her. I yelled at her. I whisper. I scream. I whine. I bellow. You know, you must use. What are the choices of words to replace a simple word as speak? In precise. I speak to her loudly and said, I yelled at her. Which one is more impactful? The second one. I speak to her softly. I whisper. You see, the effect is different by using alternative choices of words. Instead of saying, I used to have this, I jump off my bed into my shoes and I walk to the beach. I jump off my bed into my shoe and stroll down the beach. Which one is better? Stroll down the beach is way better than walking to the beach. Appeal to listener, help listener feel, see, hear, taste, and smell. Instead of walk, you can use hobble, creak, limp, trunk, trudge, march, lumber, or slide. You know, these are the words. If you want to use very simple, for some of these simple words, you can just go to Google and say, you know, walk. Then you just type walk, alternative words or meaning. I'm sure if you go Google, you'll be able to find it. Feeling and action work. The silence was deafening. There's a contrast. The silence was deafening. I was shocked to the bone. The depth of the emotion and pause. I started to tremble and quiver. You see? It was out of this world. Can you believe it? Questioning techniques to get affirmation. So skip around in joy and burst out in infectious laughter. Infectious laughter. It really bring out the emotions. But instead of saying, she jumped with joy, which is also good, right? Jump with joy, you know, she feel joyful. You know, she skip around in joy and burst out in infection. We skip around. I picture a girl skipping around in joy and burst out in emotion, and everyone around them laugh together. You know, that is the power of the sentence. Give me a picture of that. I can really picture it out. I was shocked to the bone. You see, it's very depth of emotion. There's a depth in the emotions when you say I was shocked to the bone versus I was shocked. I was shocked to the bone. You see, different, just by adding a feeling and action. Okay, impactful words such as contrasting words, repeated words, and power of 3. Okay. Contrasting word, you see, whenever there is this thing called upside and downside, there's an upside and a downside. There's a black and there's a white. There's you are either wrong or you're right. You are either wrong or you're right. You are either correct or you're wrong. You are either, you know, it's when you do contrasting words or even contrasting phrases, it actually, how to say that, it actually have an impact to the audience just by using contrasting word. contrasting words, and also contrasting sentence or contrasting ideas. Now, if you how to say, she jumped up and down, her heart pound up and down. You know, there's a two, how to say that, I don't know how do I say this. There are two sides of it. If you use, you must use, like when I shared in the 4 ways to structure a presentation, right? There is this thing called contrasting problem and solution, the pro and the cons, the yes and the right, the no, the friend and the enemy. You see, you could be a friend or you could be an enemy. So when you use this thing of one side and the other side, they're contrasting, it actually kind of pull the audience, and the work become more impactful by just using a contrasting words or contrasting sentence or contrasting ideas. So the other thing is repeated words. Little by little, he realized, or over, I had to repeat it over and over and over again until it stick to the audience. You see the repeated words of over and over, little by little. These repeated words help to pull the audience into attention. The other thing is a power of 3. It's a triad. You can use a triad. Today I have KFC, McDonald's, and Pizza Hut. 3 things. I always think of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. My life is about yesterday, today, tomorrow. It can make you higher, swifter, and stronger. 3 things. Always in 3. Okay. Speech enhancer, there's simile. And simile is, I call it a verbal shorthand. A verbal shorthand for explaining anything. I used to use this very commonly. I said, I met Daniel, who looks a little bit like the Chinese version of Robert Downey. You see, the Chinese version of Robert Downey. Do I need to explain to you that Daniel is very charismatic, very black specs, and have do I need to explain to you the character of Robert Downey, the description of Robert Downey? I don't need to. I just telling you that he's a Chinese and he looks like Robert Downey, which means at a certain height, his height, because you know Robert Downey, right? And you know his how tall or how high he is, how he looks like, how his face structure looks like. So instead of explaining in detail about that, you just use, I met someone who looks like Robert Downey, but he's Chinese, something like that. So simile is when you compare 2 nouns, person, place, things. Unlike usually it's the words like or as. The word like or as. As, look, the rain fall like the sun. The rain falls like the sun. Love is like a rose. He is as slow as a turtle. He is as fast as a lightning. Usain Bolt run as fast as a lightning. My work is like something like that. And the rain falls like the sun. Love is like a rose. So love is very beautiful, very romantic, or very, something like that. What someone have the idea of a rose. So instead of explaining further, you just use the word like. I call it a verbal shorthand. Similarly, from some eloquent speakers, we will not be satisfied until justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Like, this is simile. Roll down like waters, which means pouring down. Righteousness like a mighty stream, pouring, like flashing down like a waterfall. Like a waterfall. Durable as the star, is as durable as the star. Energy in a nation is like sap in a tree. It rises from the bottoms up. It doesn't come from the top down. Bottoms up, top down. Contrasting. Like, it's a simile. Durable as a star, simile. So I think you get it, huh? The rise from her does not come from the top. Yeah. The other thing speech enhancer is using metaphors. It's something like a simile. It's a rhetorical devices. It identifies one thing by another. The difference is a metaphor makes an implied comparison, while simile makes a direct comparison. Similes usually use the word like. Actually, it is simile use the word like and as fast as slow as patient as righteous as someone, and it's a direct comparison. But metaphors use slightly different. For example, all the world is a stage. The world is a stage. All the world is like a stage. Different, huh? A heart of a stone. You have a heart of a stone. No heart, which means the guy. This joke is aging quickly. The foot of the mountain. The life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chain of discrimination. A chain of discrimination, the manacles of segregation. These are the metaphors being used. So, yep, metaphors, alliteration. The speech enhancer is alliteration. It uses two or more successive words, each beginning with the same letter. Alliteration. By repeating the sound of the same letter and slowing down the tempo, alliteration creates attention and emphasizes the meaning. I can tell you, if you watch this video by Jay Shetty, or you watch people like Jim Quick, just try and Google Jim Quick. I can tell you this, they are the master of alliteration. The master of alliteration. This person by the name of Jim Quick, who is a memory recall genius. You can Google him, Jim, Jimkwik. You can Google it and you can watch his video. You can use a lot of alliteration being used in most of his video. Even Jay Shetty, when they want to create attention and emphasize meaning, they use alliteration. What does it mean by alliteration? Things like practice, produce, polish. Practice, produce, polish speeches. P, P, P sound the same. The whipping willows wave in the wind. V, willow, wave, wind. Wage war against poverty, privilege, and pillage. Wage war, very close alliteration. Poverty, privilege, pillage, P, P, P is also an alliteration. And if you look at here, this is also a triad. It's an alliteration and triad combination. Jason jumped for joy. Another way you can use alliteration is when you use name. For example, you say Jason jumped for joy, J, J, J. Or you say, alliteration can be used by similar with other words, but you can also use with a name. Okay, this is what I'm trying to illustrate here. Reduce, reuse, recycle is a clear alliteration. Master of alliteration, the majestic, the magnificent Mississippi. Magnificent Mississippi. Whenever you want to describe something or a place, right? Mississippi is the Mississippi River, right? A place. How do you explain this one in more? Use the same. Start with the same. If you explain Mississippi, you can say magnificent Mississippi. The majestic and magnificent Mississippi. Very cool. It's a alliteration. With bloody, blameful blade, he bravely broached his boiling bloody breast. Bloody, blame, blade, B, brave, broach, boiling, bloody breast. A lot of alliteration by William Shakespeare. So use alliteration in your presentation. The other thing, power of triads, I've gone through that before. One of the easiest and most effective techniques as a rhetorical devices is clarity, force, and grace. Say things in any unit of words, phrases, clause, sentence, and paragraph. Just now I shared with you about, let's say, I love to eat fast food. I love KFC, McDonald's, and Pizza Hut. That is a word power of 3. You can also do a phrase power of 3. For example, Martin Luther King said the word I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. It's also a triad in phrases. Okay? A phrase or sentence. Okay? Coming to kids public speaking classes will help your kids build courage, confidence, and clarity by communicating to an audience. Courage, clarity, communicating. is alliteration. Is an alliteration, but courage, confidence, and clarity is a triad. Daphne Dumb is an alliteration. His husband, as they lost the deep connection. Daphne Dumb, deep connection. It's an alliteration. Okay. Joanna loves KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Hut. Right? KFC, McDonald's, and Pizza Hut is a power of 3. So these are some of the examples. Triad words, phrases, sentence. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. This is a triad. We mutually pledge to help each other. Our life, our fortune, our honor. Our life, our fortune, our honor is a triad. The throne is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. The kingdom, the power, the glory. This is a phrase. Phrase, the power of 3. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. So much owed by so many to so few. So much owed by so many to so few. These 3 things is a triad. Though not exactly the same, but it's a triad. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right. You see, this Abraham Lincoln, malice towards none, with charity for all, the firmness in the right. Is a power of 3. Triads of a phrase. Triad of a phrase. Malice towards none, charity for all, firmness in the right. It flows together. Okay, words to reduce, of course, actually, a lot of people, if you notice, they use the word actually, basically, so, right, without much ado, in order, la, so on are speech crutches. So I think these are the words that you and I also know that we need to reduce, but sometimes we use this so subconsciously in our presentation. So take note, or in your next presentation, to reduce this usage of these words that actually have no meaning, and it's some sort of speech crutches. Understanding your audience to build the emotion to bring home the message. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are more kinesthetic, it's feeling type. These are more auditory, they're listening. So we must use all 3 types of words to include all your audience. Can you see the pain on the face? Trying to use more of this. Can you see the pain on the face? Pain on the face is visual, but pain is a feeling, right? Pain is actually a feeling. But when I talk to someone who is visual, I would say, can you see pain on the face? It's something that is feeling words, but I change it to be a visual. Okay. Can you hear the rippling brook? Here. Can you hear the rippling brook? I understand what you're going through. I understand. This is kinesthetic. Comparison of words. He was scolded. It was a stream running behind. I acknowledge your explanation. Instead of saying, I acknowledge your explanation, I understand what you're going through. I understand what you're trying to say. Reduce in using this and increase in using more visual, auditory, and kinesthetic words that appeal to this segment of people. Of course, in a room of presentation, you must mix all visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. I can tell you most people are visual first, kinesthetic second, and then auditory. There are, of course, mix of people in the audience. You must use a bit of everything in order for you to cover the group of audience if you have 50 or more audience at once. Win your audience. Harmonize your words and non-verbal posture. Use words to appeal to the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic preference of your audience. Be sincere and be yourself. The conclusion, use the right word. Must be clear, simple, and vivid. The word arrangement, short, effective, and correctly. Using words to deliver a powerful, persuasive, and memorable, eloquent speech is important. Thank you. And I hope you get the gist of this particular presentation. On words, I basically on top of my head, just using impactful, vivid words, descriptive words. Use similes, alliteration, metaphors, power of three triads in your presentation. These four concepts itself will bring your presentation to the next level. And if you really know how to use the detail of power of three of sentence, words, phrases, and use alliteration as well, and with a combination of sentence that I showed you just now, some of them combine alliteration together with triads. And if you use mix of all these in your presentation, I'm sure your presentation is going to be a lot better just by understanding, by using the right choices of words. Thank you so much. I wish you get some value of this, and I will see you on the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.